Coming up on Tech News today, Google's subscription paywall is a lot nicer than Apple's, but will it work any better? We don't know. NVIDIA has got a quad-core crazy Tegra 3 coming out, and Facebook is stressing us all out. But there's a study that will explain why. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, February 16th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by MailRoute.info. MailRoute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now, absolutely free, at MailRoute.info. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I am Becky Worley.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we kick around the tech news of the day. Hard. Yeah. Kick it. Kick it like a
I just like to punt it around a little bit.
Sure.
Is that okay?
That's the problem with you, Jason.
Yeah, I just
you need to kick.
I need to kick. I need to commit.
Punting is kicking.
You guys need to just mellow out and be nice to the news. Come on.
Nudge it around a little bit.
Yeah.
You have a cold?
Chill. Yeah, I'm all hoarse and stuff, which is criminal.
Because you're in
on
Hawaii.
Vacation. I know.
If you're on
Aloha.
vacation, what are you doing on the show?
Yeah, good question.
Well, I'm here for a long time. I mean, somebody's got to,
bored.
grow up in Hawaii, so I figured I'd work a few days. I could stretch it out a little longer.
Good news from Detroit today. RoboCop has reached its $50,000 goal.
Woohoo! Yes.
Part man,
Wonderful news.
part machine.
Wonderful news.
All crowdfunded.
We're going to regret this someday.
Well, we
when
said
RoboCop becomes self-aware.
I believe it was just yesterday we said we'd all go. So now we all have to go.
Yeah, we should make it a TWiT special.
I would love it.
Whenever the RoboCop unveiling is.
Yes.
Isn't there going to be a Maker Faire in Detroit again one of these days?
That's right.
If so,
That'd be
RoboCop
perfect
time.
Yeah. All right. I'm in.
Okay.
Pending Leo approval. Texas Attorney General is apparently back in July asked quite a bit of Google. Bloomberg reporting today that Attorney General Greg Abbott sent Google a 13-page CID, including 39 different requests for documents, ranging from those setting forth Google's policies and procedures for calculating AdWords to things about what they think of Bing and Yahoo, how they position themselves against it. On This Week in Google today, Nilay Patel from Engadget pointed out, in Discovery, as we talked about with Sony, people ask for a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean they're going to get it. So a lot of people are reacting to the breadth of things requested by the Attorney General. But the big question remains, is there a case here? I mean, can Google be considered a monopoly, and is there basis for a real antitrust situation?
Well, that's why they want all this information, so that they can determine one way or the other way.
And why do we think that Texas has taken particular umbrage with the way that Google does business? It just seems a little odd to me. And I think, the things they're asking for are huge. It's the names of the people who are responsible for search results, names of the people who are responsible for overriding search results that come back as the algorithm presents them, the names of people who are responsible for the business relationships for selling AdWords. And then this is the one, they want the algorithms. That's nuts.
Well, and that's what Nilay was saying as an attorney. He's like, you ask for nuts stuff in Discovery because you don't want to come to trial not having something that you should have asked for. So you ask for as much as possible. The essential question that they're going after here is whether Google favors its own businesses and advertisers in its results. Google has said they don't. They've said that quite clearly, but they also have said, look, we've got to protect our trade secrets, so we're not going to show you that stuff. But they could be compelled if this goes to trial.
This is also, I mean, this is not the only antitrust investigation, the Texas probe. There's a European antitrust issue going on that started in November, for Google. It's similar stuff, discriminating with search results. And then the Justice Department is watching Google to see if it should be able to purchase ITA software.
Google also
the airline ticket folks.
Yeah, that's right. Get in line. You want to antitrust?
They're busy.
Yeah. They got a lot of antitrust. They've got a huge antitrust line right now down in Mountain View. Google is after Apple. Well, not after Apple. They're countering Apple's subscription model that we talked about earlier this week with a kinder, gentler model. Google's OnePass. Publishers can set their own prices and terms for their digital content, maintain direct relationships with their customers, no frustrations on getting customer data, which is different than Apple that said we control the customer data. Existing print subscribers can get free access. You get single sign-on across all platforms and news organizations. So if you are subscribed to the New York Times and you are on your Android device, you can sign in with the same login that you would sign in on a website or on your tablet or wherever else you are viewing the content. And one sign-in would get you to any other Google OnePass participant. So if the National Review is also participating along with the New York Times, then you can sign into both of them with the same ID. Here's the thing on their blog post that was kind of a dig at Apple. They said OnePass also offers payments in mobile apps in instances where the mobile OS terms permit transactions to take place outside of the app market. So essentially, you will not be using OnePass on iOS.
And Amazon, Apple throwing down the issues around subscriptions and all of their 30% for all in-app purchases is really providing an opportunity for Google to distinguish themselves with app makers in this instance, because the reported take that they have is 10% from app makers as compared to the 30% that
there's
Apple
a source
takes.
telling Moco News it's 10%. Google hasn't copped to that yet.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, is if it's 10%, that's going to really spur a lot more development on their side, and that may or may not turn out to backfire for Apple.
I just look at some of their partners that are on board for the launch. Popular Science I'm familiar with. Some of the others I'm not. Focus Online,
a lot of them are European, I think,
communication. But it's kind of like, I mean, if you look at the percentages, if this 10% cut turns out to be right, then it's like, wow, Google's making a lot more sense than Apple is. A lot of people are going to be more excited about this. But I just wonder, all these this whole idea of paying publishers to give you this experience, it's like, I'm still really into the online web browser experience where I read stuff for free and it's ad supported. So I feel like we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves with all these. Now you'll pay all publishers this very convenient Google way, OnePass, and you can pay within Google. It's like this whole Google checkout store type of thing. I'm not on board with any of that.
Well, yeah.
And I think this issue is still the Wild West out there. I mean, nobody's decided how that subscriptions model is going to play out, whether it's in-app, whether it's on the web, et cetera. But, when you look at the things that are already set in stone that we are willing to pay for that suddenly come under the microscope with the Apple subscription decision, like obviously going back to Kindle purchases, if you're using the Kindle reader on the iPad or on your phone, and then Netflix. And a lot of big news today, lots of speculation about, does Netflix have to give up 30% of their purchases if they're used on iOS devices? And this basically what's happening is that I think it's the San Francisco Chronicle and Business Insider were reporting that Netflix won't be affected by the Apple 30% cut. But that doesn't make any sense. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes, it absolutely makes sense because Apple TV has Netflix on it. And if Apple were to force Netflix into the situation where they might want to remove themselves, it would cripple Apple TV. So you've got to have Netflix involved in this. And if Netflix is saying, you know what, we're not a newspaper, and we sell subscriptions for a DVD service, why don't you exempt us from this? Because what we're selling isn't digital. The digital part is free when you buy DVD, even though they do now have a digital-only subscription. That might allow Apple to say, oh, well, there's a loophole there. We'll let them out because their service isn't predominantly digital.
Genius, Tom. That makes perfect sense. Now, what about the Kindle side of things? I mean, do we go back to the idea that they'll just create a Kindle reader where you can't actually make purchases on iOS devices? I mean, that's been bandied about if they get hit with this 30%, levy.
Yeah, we have no idea what we speculated on Kindle earlier this week. We really don't know what's going to happen. It would be stupid for Apple for similar reasons. People buy iPads to read their Kindle books.
Yeah.
I do think that Google is trying to kiss up to publishers with their OnePass system, though, This is a way, because they have had a very rocky relationship with publishers over Google News. This is a way for them to say, see, publishers, like you were saying, Sarah, as a consumer, I'm like, why would I want to pay anyone for any of this? But the publishers all want to charge, so Google could say, look, we're giving you a great way to charge, and we're only going to take 10%.
It's kind of funny. Jason and I were talking before the show. It's like, I mean, obviously Google didn't roll this out yesterday in response to Apple. I mean, they've been working on something all along. It's just excellent timing for them to be able to say, are you upset with Apple's terms? Because ours are better.
Yeah.
But then as consumers, it's like, well, why do I have to choose between either of these? I'm just going to opt out in it, overall. So I'm not sure. I can see, though, it being forcing Amazon not to be able to offer the purchasing rights that they've been offering folks who love the Kindle app on iOS until now, but saying Netflix is okay, though, because we have a really good partnership with them for our Apple TV.
Yeah.
Talk about upsetting
Amazon
people.
we're competitors with, so we're not going to be so nice to them.
Yeah, people don't read on their Apple TV just yet. So,
and don't forget that the Kindle Reader didn't have a link to the store originally when they first rolled it out. That was one of the weird things about it. They added it in later, so it might not. They might, we'll see. They might be willing to give Apple 30%. I doubt it. I really do.
Yeah.
And there's a really interesting point, too, today that was made because we're all talking, a lot has been bandied about, you could raise the prices 30%. You actually have to raise the prices 43% to keep your profit margin the same. I will not bore you with the math, but to the consumer, that's not a benefit.
No.
I don't see that as, thanks, but no.
Yeah, I don't want to pay more just so a couple of companies can get along and shake hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
I will look forward to the HTML5 Amazon Kindle Reader that I can use in my Safari browser. Because that would be exactly what they need to do. And they could even do some local storage. You can do local storage with HTML5 apps that you save as bookmarklets. That'd be interesting. Not as robust, but it could be interesting.
They're probably already working on that.
I hope so. NVIDIA has announced Kal-El, Superman. Well,
Nicolas Cage's son?
Yes, Kal-El.
He's already here.
No, this is a code name for their quad-core CPU Tegra chip. NVIDIA's Tegra 3 will be coming to the market later this year. In fact, August timeframe for tablets. Holiday season for smartphones. All the smartphones get a slightly downgraded version, I think.
Even so, I mean, Tegra 2 is all the rage until August now. Now that's going to be twice as fast.
Does this automatically make the Zoom, the Slate, the Tab seem like old school?
No, definitely not. But it does stoke more rumors that the next iPad would have quad-core, or maybe iPad 3 would have quad-core in it. And it does mean we're going to get great tablets. We're always going to get newer, bigger, better, faster. But this alongside another briefing at Mobile World Congress, they said they're going to plan to include a 12-core graphics processor along with the quad-core CPU. Now we're talking extreme HD graphics with a resolution of up to 2560 by 1600 on your mobile device. This is really throwing down to Intel is what it's doing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I'll be interested to see how they play out the so-called battery savings, because obviously you're thinking, oh my God, it's going to have 45 minutes of battery life, but they say they've got it licked. So I think as this comes to the real world, it'll be interesting to see how they balance all that in such a tiny device.
Yeah, they actually NVIDIA claimed up to 12 hours of HD video playback under the right circumstances. I don't know if that means you got to turn your brightness way down or what, but
that's probably right.
I mean, if they can get close to 12 hours of HD video,
if you make
really
the screen
amazing.
entirely black, close your eyes and listen to the audio, 12 hours.
12 hours max.
Yeah.
So.
Comcast and Cablevision both had earnings calls talking about their subscribers. This is a story we've been following for several months now because the number of subscribers at cable companies have been going down, and the cable companies have been saying it's not because of the internet, it's just the economy. Comcast had revenue and earnings beat estimates. They did lose 135,000 cable subscribers, but those losses are smaller than they were a year ago and smaller than the preceding quarter as well. So they're losing subscribers at a slower clip. More importantly, though, they added 700,000 subscribers overall by adding more broadband and voice customers. Revenue per subscriber was up 10.6%. So it seems like they could start to sunset their... Maybe these companies will all of a sudden come to their senses and realize, you know what? we can make a lot of money off of being an ISP.
Yeah, we've got it.
I mean, especially when you got the triple play option. I mean, if you're providing it all, what difference does it matter what way the consumer thinks they're bringing it in?
Also, yeah, go ahead, Becky.
Well, no, I just think, the bottom line is they're making 10% more per consumer, but the consumer thinks they're saving, and probably is saving money by getting, all three from one vendor. And it does finally just come down to feeling like a real consumer issue. What's the consumer paying? And does that benefit both the consumer and the company?
I wonder how much of this also has to do with, we were talking about a year ago, there were more dropped cable subscribers than there were this last time around. How many of that has to do with folks who cut the cord and then were like, either this isn't working for me, I really need American Idol, I've got to watch it live, or you telling me how much it kind of sucks that you don't have cable anymore, and me saying, maybe I won't do that.
Yeah.
Because, it can be argued that cutting the cord is not quite ready for prime time
I think that second one is probably a bigger effect, because the cable companies are very quick to say, we don't see any evidence that people are going over and getting all of their television off of cable in great numbers. There are definitely people doing it, but not in large numbers. But that second effect of you saying, oh, I can't get this or that show, maybe I'll hold off until they finally show up. I think that could be having a big effect.
They dodged a bullet because if the recession had hit, let's say the recession had moved 3 years and was coming up in the next 6 months. Well, now with all the options that you have in terms of watching TV, getting movies through streaming, you would have seen a much larger exodus, because when the recession hit and there were all these stories about saving money, people tried to do it, and it's exactly Sarah's point. It was just too hard. But it's gotten so much easier that I think the cable companies really
you think it's gotten that much easier? To get all of the shows that you want? I feel like Hulu has actually pulled shows off. I feel like it's in fact gotten harder in the past couple of years.
Well, the one thing I would say is that a lot of the third-party, set-top boxes have consolidated this and made it more user-friendly. So you could make one purchase, you could connect up your Ethernet cable, and you would at least be able to see the options, as opposed to in the past where you had to kludge it together and it was much more technologically intimidating.
Yeah, but no, I see your point.
Saying the content wasn't there.
I think it has gotten easier for boxes and for technology, but the content is lacking. There's less content available than there was when it was hard.
I'm always saying, what does Roku have? Hulu? Wait, Netflix? How do I do? I've got all the boxes, but I don't know exactly what does what. And it's not one box.
Hulu shows fewer shows than it did. They lost Viacom, although Viacom's back now, and they changed their policies on back episodes and how many they would keep and for how long. Cablevision, though, has never had subscriber loss problems. Their subscriber numbers were up 8.2% to 3.3 million from a year earlier and rose 8.9% from last quarter. So if you're in a Cablevision area, apparently you guys have just continued to subscribe in greater and greater numbers.
Well, because they also acquired Bresnan Communications that had a 300K customer
Well,
base.
that doesn't hurt now, doesn't it?
Yeah. So they bought more subscribers, definitely.
And they smartly bought subscribe in places that are Utah, Wyoming, and so one of the things that we're seeing is that those are people who probably don't have the super fast broadband and can't download stuff as fast.
Boy Genius report really quickly reporting that online pre-orders for the iPhone were not terribly good, 550,000. However, it also reports that Verizon iPhone sales at Apple stores didn't blow away AT&T iPhone sales. I don't think this is a big surprise. Boy Genius says 30% of Verizon iPhone owners were ditching Android and 25% ditching BlackBerry. We'll wait to see some real numbers before we really pass judgment on this. But
I've speculated before that I'm an AT&T iPhone customer. I can switch if I want to. I'm not going to hit with a penalty because I've been a customer for a while now. And it's like, if I can just revel in my inertia and do nothing and watch a bunch of customers go over to Verizon and then all of a sudden my phone calls work again, and I don't have to do anything, then I'm just not going to do that. So why not just take a couple months and see, especially if the iPhone 5 is going to come out. I don't want to get locked into something with Verizon and not be able to upgrade, and I don't know if I can do that or not yet. I think a lot of people feel the same way.
Verizon iPhone is going to sell really well in the summer when a new iPhone comes out.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally agree. totally agree. I think there was an amazing amount of cautiousness on the consumer's part to jump into what has been thought of as the panacea for the dropped call problem, the Verizon iPhone. And I did a story on Yahoo about, reasons not to buy the Verizon iPhone. It did huge numbers on Yahoo because I think the average consumer is thinking, oh man, this is going to solve the problem, or is this just going to be a whole new set of problems? And people are becoming a lot more savvy.
Twitter's got a whole new set of problems coming their way. At least I think so. There's a story on All Things Digital about a video that's available for people interested in buying ads on Twitter, giving them guidance on where they should spend their money, how they should spend their money, what the program offers. Promoted tweets will get a big push in the next month or so, according to this video. Twitter says ads will start running in users' regular timelines. Right now, they only run in searches. So if you search on a particular keyword that has been advertised on, the promoted tweet will show up in the search results. The Twitter stream is going to start having promoted tweets showing up whether you want them or not.
Which is, I've predicted this before, and I actually feel it's true, that much more so because Twitter also in this video were warning potential buyers, hey, some people get upset. Some people don't like this sort of thing. But it won't be that many people. And remember, the people who complain are always the loudest. However, Twitter has such a great, another whole revenue model here on their own. It has nothing to do with advertisers, because if I say these inline ads are driving me crazy, I will pay you $10 a year to never see them. Then Twitter has a whole nother revenue stream for me. So I think Twitter Pro accounts are on the horizon as well. People are going to be mad about this. People hate this sort of thing.
People hate change, and they're going to be mad, and then they're going to get used to it. What I will say is that I think Twitter will probably treat this as good as it can be done. I remember when Pounce put their promoted posts, their paid-for posts in the timeline.
I don't, actually.
They had them set off. They looked different. It was easy to scan past them. It was clear that they weren't part of your normal timeline.
Right.
I thought that was well done because I didn't mind them, and they weren't too often, so it didn't like clutter up my stream. Some people aren't even going to like that, but I think Twitter will come up with a way to make this at least as acceptable as possible.
A little bit more nitty-gritty on what they were advising potential advertisers, too. They suggested a minimum buy-in of $5,000. They said the best bang for your buck is promoted accounts, not promoted tweets. And then they said you should expect click-through rates of 0.3%. So compare that to what Google has said their average click-through rate for AdWords is 2%. That's pretty minuscule. And they said your engagement rates will be higher, that you'll get a lot of retweets. But then this company called Mongoose Metrics, I can't quite figure out what they do. They do some sort of phone call conversion metrics. But they said they paid $2,000 for promoted tweets, and they got 126, they got 200 retweets and 126 conversions, which I assume means clients out of it. That's not a bad rate.
I don't understand why a retweet would not be considered a click-through rate.
Well, because you're not clicking through to the advertiser's site. So
you're just replicating the advertisement that much more.
Yeah.
Right. So it's valuable.
It's like a virus.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, click-through usually means I got them away from you, and I got them now. And so it's up to me to turn them into a sale. It's the art of the deal.
And they probably care, too, most about it. I mean, they probably count those click-throughs, obviously, because the person previously clicked to look at it. But that kind of paying for viral is the ultimate thing that businesses are trying to figure out. How can we pay to go viral? I mean, it's so counterintuitive. They don't get it, right? But we're going to pay to go viral. That's how we're going to do it. And that's, this is what the sort of the golden egg is Twitter's pursuing it.
It is interesting to see how many, the click-through rates are going to be low, but how high does a retweet rate have to be before somebody really finds it useful? I mean, I know when I add links to my tweets all the time, and I can tell, I use Bitly. Of all of my followers, very few of them ever click on my links. I mean, it's such a small number of the small amount of people, in perspective that are even following me. So, I don't know. It's interesting. New territory.
Peter Bright over at Ars Technica has been doing a fantastic job of digging into the Anonymous versus H.B. Gary story. We've been talking about this a little bit on Tech News today. H.B. Gary said that they had discovered the identities of several members of Anonymous. If you can be a member of Anonymous, it's very loose affiliation. That did not sit well, and Anonymous not only hacked them, but took emails off of their server and published them, defaced several websites, and more. Over at Ars Technica, they have an excellent article explaining how it all went down. They've interviewed both people at HB Gary Federal and interviewed people in IRC on Anonymous, and they even have some chat room logs that show the conversations between Aaron from HB Gary and some of the Anonymous folks in the chat room, and how unaware he was of what he was dealing with and how they were perceiving him.
This article is fascinating, not only because it shows that at least the members of Anonymous that this applies to know what they're doing. I mean, it wasn't just a bunch of kids. Like HB Gary sort of made it seem like these amateurs, we got them. That's not really the case. Not only that, but HB Gary, the high security company, had really low security on their own company.
Well, and it was funny is the hacking that was done was not anything that couldn't have been done elsewhere. It was not Stuxnet. It was not high-level hacking. It was clever. It was very clever, but it was finding rather known vulnerabilities that HB Gary Federal was a little lax about.
Well, especially since they're a high security company.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the nature of their company. I mean, they had a custom-made CMS that was easily hacked. They used, a 128-bit hash algorithm that's known to be vulnerable to password cracking. It's like one of the
and one of the problems with that was the people that they hacked didn't use secure passwords.
That too.
So they were hashing with MD5, which is known to be vulnerable to rainbow tables. But if they had been using a, say, 20-character with multiple alphanumeric characters and capitals, it would have been much harder to hack. But they used a 6-character password with only numbers and letters, no caps.
And those same passwords then were, hey, lo and behold, the same used in some email and
using
Twitter
the
accounts.
same passwords everywhere.
Bad.
They actually tell people not to do that themselves.
Yes.
And then didn't follow their own advice.
Yeah, there's even kind of a fascinating back and forth that's also in this article about how Anonymous gained access to a website called rootkit.com through social engineering that convinced somebody who knew the user and pass to get into the site that it was the guy running the site who had forgotten his username and password.
Hey, I'm in Europe and I need to SSH into the server. Can you open up a firewall and allow SSH port through 59022 or something vague? I
mean, it's not even well written. I mean, the guy just ate out of their hand. It's like, I can see them say, is this my password? Just remind me. But then it was like, oh, is this my username also? Can you clarify that? Is this my username?
Yeah, that's the username we've got. I just reset your password to 123 change me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, dude. I'll catch you a beer next time, Kat.
Yes. You're not making that up. That's from the email.
Oh, my God. As bad as the security was from HB Gary and as bad as this makes them look, I would say this is a huge feather in the cap of Anonymous. And it must really, this has become an amazing cat and mouse game with this group. And I think it's got to be changing people's perception of security because security firms have got to be a little nervous. Their whole business could falter if they challenge this one group.
Well, and let's be honest, security groups need to audit themselves and make sure that they are, you can't just sit there and say, well, I probably am not vulnerable. And then you could say that, that's fine, but then go and poke at some group, at a hacker group, any hacker group, not just Anonymous, and expect that they're not going to go find those vulnerabilities.
Right.
If you're going to kick the hornet's nest, you might want to do some penetration testing before you do it. Just
HB Gary Federal who kicked the hornet's nest.
Excellent book.
All right, let's finish up our discussions with a trial going on in Virginia, a court case going on in Virginia. The U.S. government is attempting to get personal information from the Twitter accounts of 3 people linked to the WikiLeaks probe. These include Bradley Manning, the private who's suspected of supplying material to WikiLeaks, Birgitta Jonsdottir, a former WikiLeaks activist who is also a member of Iceland's parliament, as well as a couple of computer programmers, Ron Gongrip, of a Dutch citizen, and Jacob Applebaum, an American who is constantly being searched whenever he tries to leave the country or come back. John Kecker is a lawyer representing one of the Twitter clients, and said that the government's request for all of their Twitter data would give the government a map of people tied to WikiLeaks and essentially halt free speech online.
And John Kecker is not just one of the lawyers involved. John Kecker is a legend in the legal profession. He is the guy who prosecuted Oliver North. He defended Enron's Andrew Fastow. He is the lawyer that lawyers, I think according to the bar, most lawyers in America would most want defending them if they were ever in trouble. So in terms of this being a case for free speech, if that's really what's going to go down and if this is going to be something that's going to be precedent setting, for those that are on the side of that, having John Kecker saying that is a good thing. You know, the prosecutor in this case has said he's reaching a little bit far because all she wants is timing and location data. But I think, you know, the precedent is there. And this is going to be a really interesting case to watch.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be precedent setting. All right, let's move on to the news fuse.
Oh, that was awesome.
Sony would like to erase you. They're trying to remove all traces of PS3 hacks and cracks available online, and they're targeting gamers by threatening to revoke access to the PlayStation Network and their Curiosity service. This is something I said that they should have started with this and then left it there and not gone into the courtroom. Anyway, anyone using circumvention devices or running unauthorized software will be banned permanently from those networks. If that sounds like you might want to reverse your jailbreak or just not log on to the PlayStation Network.
You know, sorry about stepping on you there to begin with, Tom. I got really excited about the news fuse sound effect.
Weird, Jay, to see you haven't been on the show as much lately. We've heard that like 12
We're
times.
like, what is she freaking out about? Just some lasers.
Cool. That was awesome. We got official word on the Zoom pricing from Motorola CEO Sanjay Jha himself. $799 for the 3G version, Wi-Fi only version for 600 bones. Pre-orders and reservations possibly beginning as soon as tomorrow via Best Buy, and maybe even a full Zoom launch Thursday, February 24th.
Although the CEO didn't say anything about the launch, right? He only confirmed the prices.
Right. Those are just rumors that...
Right.
But we love rumors. Come on, February 24th.
I didn't want people to get confused over what was fact. The price is now actually fact.
Yeah. There is possibly a Zoom launch Thursday, February 24th.
Fact, rumor. You heard it on TNT.
And all the hubbub about Nokia and Windows joining forces, a lot of attention was given to the so-called Plan B, 9 young investors who wanted to take over the board and rile up shareholders and fire Elop to save the company. But it turns out that there are no 9 young investors.
What?
Just an engineer. He was bored. He was psyched to, get ink for his hoax. So Nokia fans, I think it might just be time to accept micro Nokia.
We are Plan B.
Nokia Soft.
We are everywhere.
There's no Plan B. At least this
Kia
one
sounds
isn't.
like some sort of a drive-through IKEA, micro Kia.
Yeah. It's where you get really small furniture.
Just, stuff for the kitchen.
Dollhouse furniture. Recent rumors of a revamped Mobile Me have tied the service to the alleged iPhone Nano and audio streaming abilities. Now, an anonymous source tells Cult of Mac that Mobile Me may gain mobile video streaming, a location check-in system called iGroups, geotagging, and a personal web page builder in order to consolidate your Facebook, Foursquare, Ustream, and Ping services. Does anybody use Ping?
What is Ping?
All in one place.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of the Ping thing.
No.
Yeah. Apple Social. I'm going to leave that alone.
Oh, Ping FM.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's it. Skype CEO Tony Bates has some good news for those 1,000-plus disgruntled Nokia workers that walked off the job last week after the Microsoft deal hit. He says, our primary engineering focus just so happens to be somewhere between Finland, Estonia, and Stockholm. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. We're hiring dudes. So I think that, those of you in that part of the country, you just definitely think about it, and I think the rest of us should just expect Skype's Windows Phone app to kind of stop working.
Why doesn't it work?
Why doesn't it ever work on Windows Phone?
This VoIP thing is a bunch of hooey.
By the way, it's not just about the people that walked off the job early last week. It's about the people about to get axed.
Yeah, that too.
Yikes.
Details on Sony's S1 customized honeycomb tablet are starting to emerge. Tegra 2 processor, front and rear cameras, USB port, PlayStation certification, quick access to, is it Curiosity?
Curiosity.
Well, it certainly is spelled weird for me to say Curiosity. For the curious folk, it's Sony's music and game ebook VOD service that's launched in Europe already. Rumored price for a Wi-Fi version is $5.99. A planned September ship date, but that's already been pushed a couple times, so we'll see.
Sony has a tablet, though.
We'll see.
Finally.
Ish.
And it'll play games. Nice. A sad day for all the Jessie's girls out there.
What?
Car stereo tape decks have been pronounced dead. They are survived by their brother's CD player
But she was watching me with
and their
those
child
eyes.
MP3 player. And she was
just
loving
know
me
it.
with that body. I just know it. Yeah. I don't know if I can finish this. You can go retro on the dash and install your own tape deck, but you won't find one in a stock model stereo. The 2010 Lexus SC430 was the last car to offer one. Now that's luxury.
Oh,
2011 edition.
I think
has
Leo must have had, no, he used to do that. He had all those Lexi before he became a Ford man.
I mean, after I even stopped using tape decks, I used a tape deck to connect to my Sony Discman.
Yeah.
And I just put it in my passenger seat, you know, and it would
later
skip
on,
every
the
5
iPod,
minutes. Yeah.
You can do the same thing. Yeah.
So buy tapes.
They don't have one of those for the CD now, do they? Huh?
No,
That thing was
they do
genius.
Sure don't.
That's what I'm saying. Warner Brothers has launched app editions with films Inception and The Dark Knight. So free apps with access to download or stream each film, and then special features available via the in-app purchases. Inception currently priced at just under $12. Dark Knight just under 10. Besides general app convenience, Warner Brothers says App Editions offers video to iOS device owners in countries without access to iTunes movie stores. And the way I read this is that there's the app goes along with it while you're doing it. I mean,
yeah, there's like a social capability involved too. So you can, I don't know, watch it with your friends and talk to people who also like The Dark Knight, which is everybody. It's cool.
Sarah, did you get the iPad app that went with Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah, we actually talked about it on iPad Today last week, and so I'm not a Grey's fan, but Ron Richards, who was my co-host last week, is a huge fan. He says the app is really crashy, but I love the idea of it. I mean, that's a lot of fun. That kind of brings the whole live aspect back into it, and it even works if you're watching something that's pre-recorded as well. It just doesn't have the same live games that they run during the commercials.
I'm stressed out.
Why?
I got too many Facebook friends.
Well, that's your own fault.
Well, that's what the study says anyway. I actually don't feel that stressed out, but I should be. According to Edinburgh Napier University, they found a significant minority of users, significant minority. Well, that says it all. Suffered considerable Facebook-related anxiety. More than 1 in 10 said Facebook made them feel anxious. More than 3 in 10 said they felt guilty about rejecting friend requests.
I can see this. Facebook, sometimes I get a lot of anxiety. I hate admitting this, but you know how it'll tell you all the people that, whose birthdays are coming up or whose birthday it is. And some of the people I don't know that well, I've met them once, or maybe I was friends with them in high school and haven't talked to them in 20 years. And I kind of get anxiety over, I'm not just going to say happy birthday to everybody, or I'm not going to accept a Scrabble game from just everybody, but I really don't want to upset people. But again, these are people I would have no contact with at all if it not were for Facebook. Or they have a baby, and I feel compelled to say, really cute baby.
Right, and now you wouldn't have had to say that before.
No, I wouldn't even know they had a baby.
Yeah.
I would have never thought about them again. So I can kind of see, I wouldn't say that I'm super stressed out and up at night about this kind of thing. But
then I got people in the chat room right now going, yeah, you rejected my friend request.
Yeah.
This is stressing me out even more.
Right.
Well, but you can avoid FRA, Facebook-related anxiety, by having a Facebook policy.
And that's that.
That doesn't
that
doesn't
my
help.
Facebook policy is if I meet you twice, I will not friend you if I haven't met you twice.
But it's still stressful to reject it because the people are like, well, I think that's a stupid policy.
Well, everybody has to have boundaries, Tom. That's the rule.
And how do the people that you're friends with know your policy? Do you have like a disclaimer on your Facebook page?
You post it on Facebook, but they can't see it because they're not your friend.
Right.
Well, the people that I think will get it, I will say that to them. Like, hey, let's be, I'll follow you on Twitter, and if you can follow me back, then we can do that, because I use Twitter publicly. But, you know, the other syndrome that I think has come up is TTHS, take the hint, stupid, when someone keeps asking you over and over to be friends. And it's like, I just think, okay, it is stressful. I agree with you, Sarah. There are things like there's a lot of social interaction that needs to be managed, and it can be challenging. I agree. Now I suddenly agree. I think you're right.
I mean, yeah, there's something to be said about not wanting to, I don't know, hurt anybody. Facebook only works if you keep your friends down to a manageable number. Yeah. I mean, everyone who maxed out at 5,000 friends, when Facebook was still, does Facebook even have that limit anymore?
Yeah, I think they still do.
Well, this was before Pages, so people were using Facebook as like this aggregator for fans, so it was a little bit different. But, I mean, ask any of those people who did that, and they'd all say, oh, Facebook was completely ruined. It wasn't even fun for me anymore because it broke all of the relationships that they were expecting people to have that were reasonable.
Well, let's move on to the calendar.
TiVo is going to brick all remaining United Kingdom PVRs on June 1st. Cue the taps again, Jason.
But you might get a free TiVo. It's not nearly as sad. It might be replaced. They're not. When you say brick, they're just going to turn off the guide service for all existing PVRs. But you could still buy a new Virgin TiVo branded device, and you might even get one for free.
They're giving away 1,000 of these things, and they're sending out these offers in the mail, and I was looking at the pictures of them, and it sounds like some sort of cross between a bad scam and a Willy Wonka sort of a come-on. Like, you could win one Virgin TiVo. But they are giving away 1,000 of them. You have to register in the mail or online by February 24th for the new TiVo box.
1,000 isn't that much.
No, I mean, it's my TiVo.
It's going to go fast.
Yeah, it's going to go really fast.
Microsoft is bridging the gap and is going to bring its first app to the Mac App Store. Not the iTunes App Store, but the Mac.
But it's not what you think. It ain't Office.
No. It's a Windows Phone 7 connector software, and this is a way to sync your iTunes and your iPhoto collections onto your Windows Phone 7 from your Mac. And they've had that as a standalone download in the past, but now it's in the actual Mac App Store that is fairly newly launched.
It's kind of neat, though.
It's kind of necessary if you want to actually try to sell these phones that you're not selling very many of.
Right. I'm like, this is genius. No, they're just trying to sell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah, South by Southwest, you're gearing up, I hear.
Yes, TWiT, many of us anyway from TWiT, will be in South by Southwest. We land Friday night, that's March 11th, and we'll be broadcasting live on the 12th and the 13th. So Saturday, March 12th, we'll be shooting an iPad Today. That won't actually be live, but Leo and I will be out on the town talking to all the weirdos and finding out who's using Angry Birds and such. And then we are shooting an episode of TNT plus an episode of This Week in Tech that have special guests. Jeff Jarvis and Gina Trapani will be joining us on that episode of TWiT on Sunday, March 13th. Immediately following that, so TNT starts at 1
Yeah, well, the whole thing starts at 1 o'clock from Momo's Club. Go to momosclub.com. Then 4 p.m. is TNT, 5 p.m. is TWiT, and 7 p.m. starts the meetup.
Yeah, that's right. So if you can make all of it, awesome. If you can make 1 or 2 shows, great. And if you can only make the meetup, then yay, because we won't be working and we'll all mingle and have fun and take pictures and it'll be a good time. And then if you can't make any of that, then look for us, because both Saturday and Sunday, especially once night falls, we'll be scouring the parties with a live view on our back and talking to party goers and people who are in the scene. You know, the South by Southwest is really all about the parties, so we're excited to do that. So lots of coverage there, and if you can't make Austin, don't worry, because you can just watch live.twit.tv and see everything.
On to the voicemails. 260-TNT show is the phone number, and we have an idea of how an iPhone gets smaller.
Hey, TNT. I was just calling in regards to the mini iPhone or iPhone Nano or whatever you want to call it. How hard would it be to make an iPhone that is smaller but have the same screen size, or essentially eliminate more of the bezel? Sounds a little crazy, but it seems like it might be feasible, and that kind of melts all the rumors together. No button on the new iPhone, using just gestures, and it is going to be smaller because the bezel on the top and the bottom is much less. Anyway, just a crazy idea. Thanks. Love the show. This is Kyle from Tennessee. Thanks a lot. Bye.
So, I mean, this is a 3GS, but the 4 is the same size. It just is sort of less rounded. But as far as screen real estate, yeah, I guess you could take a little off the top here. You can't really take anything off the sides. And I'm sorry, but that button is not going away anytime soon. I need this button. For my semi-multitasking, I hit my iPhone and iPad. The button is essential.
What if they relocate the button so it isn't on the front face?
Well,
don't take away my button, man. I'm with you, Sarah. The button on the top of the Android phones drives me crazy.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a good solution, but if as far as what this guy is saying,
I think if you put it anywhere else, okay, so the back, for example, now all of a sudden, if I've got my iPhone here, I can't go like this and see what's going on without, I can actually do a fair bit of navigation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without having to actually hold it or turn it over or anything. So, yeah, I don't know how much smaller you're going to make it if you want that screen size to stay the same.
Maybe they just make the new one bigger. Someone emailed us this idea, and then they leave that one the same, and then that one is smaller.
This one becomes...
It becomes the iPhone Classic.
The iPhone
Maybe
Nano.
the new one is just going to be a third bigger than this one.
It'll be the 7-inch tablet, actually. No, it's not a tablet. It's just a bigger phone.
On to the email, TNT@twit.tv. Becky, lead us off.
This is from Cass in Seattle, and obviously there's been a lot of talk about Watson on Jeopardy, and she says, it creeps the hell out of me. I'm assuming Cass is a girl. Maybe it's a boy. Cass. It creeps the hell out of Cass. The ability to recognize human language is very impressive. That's not what gives her the heebie-jeebies. It's that in combination with the fact that it could research a seemingly infinite set of data, analyze it against text, determines a confidence level. It's all the analytics and all of the algorithms that I think really have gotten people fired up about this whole contest. This is someone who's obviously a technology fan, and I'll summarize the rest of the email, but basically someone who's a technology fan who loves the idea, but in some ways it is sort of bringing to our collective awareness that artificial intelligence is really here and it's happening. You guys agree?
I watched this last night, and it was crazy how fast Watson got out in front and was just crushing. There was just no way they could win, and it was the opposite of the day before, where it just wasn't working as well. But yeah, I mean, natural language processing, as we mentioned in the email yesterday, pretty impressive stuff. And when you think about what's going on, as Cass points out, it's just it's mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling, but it's so. My Twitter stream last night was just inundated with people going, "Well, that's the end of humanity. Robots are taking over," and it's like, but man wins either way. I mean, we've built something that is smart and gets smarter as it plays along.
Yeah,
so
until Watson becomes so aware that he can overtake Alex Trebek in a fist fight, we've got problems.
We've seen the sci-fi movies, so we know that this can go awry.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm just impressed.
Yeah, no, it's very impressive.
I think it's exciting.
I think it's cool.
I think it's a great way to bring science and technology to the mainstream, too. I mean, no matter what you say, people are talking about it who don't normally talk about technology, and that's just cool.
Also, totally. Cass is a dude. He says, says so in the chat room. Our apologies.
Okay. Short for Mr. Cass.
Right.
Cass in Seattle. Next email from John Waymeyer. I hope I'm saying your name right. Hey, guys, I did notice the other day that you guys were possibly sort of brand new memed by the upcoming Radiohead direct sale offer. So this is in reference to the story from a few days ago where we were saying, wow, Radiohead is offering a variety of different packages, whether you want sort of a lower quality digital package or a higher quality wave package where you want a couple CDs and some vinyl and the higher quality wave package. So we were really impressed. But John says, this is not the first time that somebody's done this. Elvis Costello, for example, Arcade Fire, David Byrne, Brian Eno, and Nine Inch Nails have all experimented with various different packages that can be all digital-based or a digital, vinyl hybrid or the like. So he says, I agree, this is a great way to eliminate the middleman. They basically don't exist anymore unless you're happy with adulterated MP3 files from iTunes. In fact, the only detail in the Radiohead offer is the inclusion of full-blown WAV files rather than some, Apple lossless or that kind of thing. So Not the first, but definitely still cool. It's a good direction to be going in. Choice is good.
All right, good. And I was not aware. I was aware of Nine Inch Nails, and I
me too.
feel
And
bad that I
feel
forgot
kind of
to
stupid
bring that up.
we didn't mention.
But I wasn't aware Arcade Fire had done this.
Me either.
Or Elvis Costello. I think I was aware of the David Byrne one too. Although that one I might.
Wait, who's Arcade Fire?
I don't know I don't know. Why did they win a Grammy? Who are they? All right, that's a meme. We actually know who Arcade Fire is. Please don't write in.
It's a joke. It's a Tumblr account, actually. It's funny.
Becky Worley, good to see you again. I hope you're having a good time out there in Maui.
You know, somebody's got to do it, gang. I'll take the hit for all of us.
I bet that pineapple's rotten.
That's so nice of you. No,
I'll see you guys again.
We do miss you. We can't wait till you get back in the almost back in the States, but back.
And I would have slapped you
back
from
mainland. Only not because actually we can't wait until we both are with you in Hawaii.
That we'll just do the TWiT or the TNT Maui version soon.
Let's do
Not
it.
to worry,
Yeah.
team.
TNT 5-0.
That invite could come any day now. We're just waiting.
Please
I'll pack
send
my
it.
bags.
All right.
Just need the tickets.
We're going to go make sure our swimsuits are packed, and you're going to go to twit.tv/TNT to find our website, or email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call, 260-TNT-SHOW. We'll see you tomorrow.